Maybe you weren't meant to find love. A bleak title, a heartbreaking thing to consider, but statistics show us that, unfortunately, life isn't always the Disney dream, the American dream, the, fall in love, get married, and have children narrative that is always thrown upon us. Hey, it's Christine Grace. Welcome back to my channel. Today is another reaction video. Like the video on your way in. Let's get straight into it. So today's video was sent over to me by Keros. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation of your name. Please correct me if I am. But thank you so much for sending this video over to me. Keros is part of my WhatsApp community. And yeah, there's a lot of funny conversations going on over there, which I will keep private, but yeah, I'm very grateful for the suggestion, Keros, and I haven't seen this video before, so we're gonna watch it together, and I'm gonna try my best to give you my thoughts, and hope you like it.
My neighbor at the corner of my street of my childhood home was the only house that had a pool in the backyard. I would go over there quite a lot, even had a mini diving board, and the owner of the house, which was one old guy, seemed to always be away. He was always traveling or something. And I never saw a woman come in or out of his house. When I asked my parents what he did, I actually don't remember what he did, but I did ask my parents, like, does he have a family? Like, where is his family? He's living in this huge house alone? They said, yeah, he's basically living the bachelor life. That's how he's always lived. He's probably in his 40s, unmarried. And that's just how his life unfolded. It made me think of a video I stumbled across recently on the internet of Dr. K, Healthy Gamer GG. A lot of you guys know him if you like self-improvement type of stuff, where he had a conversation a year or two back with a guy who paid $50,000 on dating coaches and still had no partner. Now, of course, there's something to be said about what dating coaches teach and whether their efficacy is effective, whether they're really effective regarding deeply internal issues regarding your self-image.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when it comes to dating coaches and taking advice from anyone, really, it is completely down to the individual. So, you've got to do your own research. You've got to look at testimonials, reviews. You've got to be able to say, are what these people experiencing similar to what I'm experiencing, and have I dealt with my own internal issues to be at a point where I'm ready to give this a go? Because if you've not dealt with the things that you've got going on, which are personal to you and actually have nothing to do with your dating strategy, then no kind of dating coach or dating advice is going to help. If, however, you have done the internal work and you feel like you just need a few more strategic, kind of playbooks or a different approach for how to do things, then definitely you should check it out. But as I say, with dating coaches, dating advice, anything like that, it's down to you as the individual. Different dating courses and dating coaches, they can offer different strategies, which may or may not work for you. And it's up to you to decide if it's something you want to try. But always look at what other people have to say. And if it's something positive, which I believe the Wing Girl is, there's a lot of guys who've said it works for them, then yeah, try it. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it's down to you.
Like dating coaches, I don't know many who are going to help with that. But both of those situations and people highlight a phenomenon that I feel happens within our world, where some people, no matter how hard they try, no matter how much effort they put in, because of who they are, they just have a really tough time finding love. And you got to ask the question, is it something these people are doing, or are they just not meant to find love right now or ever? And how could they possibly live with that? Some people seem to be perfectly okay with this type of lifestyle. They eventually give up, the whole men going their own way movement. They fill up their free time with other things that are pleasurable, with meaningful hobbies and pursuits and passions, and they get the joy and love out of life through what they themselves do with their actions or with friends. Everybody needs community. Everybody needs social connection. And you need to feel like you belong somewhere and you're a part of something. I believe most people do.
I think that's absolutely right. I think we are tribal animals. And even if you don't necessarily have a mate, I think it is very important to feel like you're a part of something. Now, I know in a world where we are increasingly, connected online, we are more disconnected in person. People don't talk to each other on the bus or the train anymore. People don't talk in the bakery. It's just everyone's just scrolling, looking at their phones. But I still think that is needed. I think that's something that I struggle with. I think that is a problem with religion. Come for me. I know some of you aren't going to like that. That's fine. But that's something I certainly struggle with religion, is that I, desperately want to have a place where I feel this is the tribe. This is where I feel completely welcome and, maybe not entirely understood, but there is a willingness to be understood. And the thing with religion is that, unfortunately, one of the side effects of people becoming a tribe is that there tends to be a general consensus, which I'm torn about, because on the one sense, I want that general consensus. I want to be, part of this joint, this is what we think and what we believe and the values and virtues and morals that come along with that. But at the same time, that can sometimes, not always, but sometimes translate to holier than thou mindset. That can also translate to, us versus them, the whole idea of critical theory, that life is black and white. There's always an oppressed and an oppressor, and this is the right way and the only way, and all of that stuff, which then can make one feel incredibly lonely, especially if your genuine, concern is the pursuit of truth, and you're in a place where you don't necessarily feel like you can explore that truth. I remember being part of a church, and, for all intents and purposes, the community at this church was amazing. Genuinely, really, really lovely people. I don't have anything bad to say about the people as individuals. But they're definitely, I got a feel that sometimes if you was to ask certain questions, you would just kind of be not forced, because obviously no one's holding a gun to your head, but the general kind of consensus would just be because it says so. And for a curious mind, that can be really difficult. Now, maybe that's a criticism of myself. Maybe that's something I need to work on, to be more accepting of, perhaps theological authority or intellect. I don't know. But to go back to the point I'm trying to get at with the video is the fact that I think feeling part of a tribe and having a sense of community is so, so important. But it's also incredibly hard to maintain. That's the crux of it.
If you really want to feel the most fulfilled and at peace and happy on a general basis in this life. But some people, no matter how hard they try, which I've come across on the internet and in my comments, they just can't find love. Well, I don't think it's the case most of the time that you'll never find love. But maybe this is a sign for you to take a step back from that area of your life and instead focus on doing a bunch of different things.
Or maybe it's not got anything to do with finding love. Maybe you do find love, but you keep losing it. And maybe the whole thing is a lesson on letting go. I guess it's all about perspective.
Related to creating a bond with just one other person. There's a lot of taboo around that within our culture still, although it's becoming a lot less not accepted. It's becoming a lot more accepted to be single at a later age, to not settle, although I think our definitions for settling have become a bit muddled, and to really wait for that perfect person to come by. That's not really the type of people I'm talking about. The people who have this warped perception of settling, and they say they can't find anybody, and yet the problem really is that they have a lot of great options. And if they truly wanted to dedicate themselves to someone, it would just require a lot of work between them and that person, and they'd have to deal with some internal struggles and realize that love really only gets developed. And I keep reiterating this point through my videos, and tweets, and stuff like that. Love really only gets developed through adversity, through conquering things, through getting to know the other person better, which usually begins through some sort of triggering process where the person does something you don't like that wasn't something you grew up with, but they see as totally harmless. It triggers you. And at first you're like, you try to explain it to them in a really hostile way. And you're like, what the fuck is that about? But then you realize, okay, this person grew up in a completely different household than me, completely different upbringing. I need to have some grace here and communicate why this aspect of a relationship is so important to me and why I would like them to change this behavior. There's people like that who never get to that stage, but that's not even really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who never seem to find love, even if they've done all the work on themselves, even if they truly do love themselves, they're confident. They're the guy or girl or whoever who everybody hangs around, who everybody enjoys being in their presence. And people tell them all the time, hey, you're the fucking funniest guy I know. I have plenty of friends like that who are like super cool and confident, and everybody likes them, but they have serious troubles dating. Well, maybe you're just not meant to do that, at least right now. To pursue dating and try so hard, scrolling endlessly or swiping endlessly through these dating apps and going on all these dates and nothing coming out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be that hard, you know? If the river's not flowing in your direction, then try something else. I definitely agree with that. It's a tough one hearing that as a woman, because in my experience, you risk a lot by having that attitude. Because I think for men, it's slightly different. The pressure on men to settle down and get married young. Again, controversial take. Come for me. I don't necessarily agree with it. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I am saying that men are different to women. Men have a different journey. And I don't see a problem with a man being single till he's 30, even 40. And then, getting married, doing the kids, like all of that stuff. But for us women, that's different. That's really different. And obviously, biologically, we are driven by this, our survival depends on men. Our survival depends on finding a mate and, having someone protect us. So yeah, it's quite hard actually to hear this as a woman, because it just highlights the, almost like pressure, but more need to find someone. And yeah, I hope what I'm saying is making sense. What I'm trying to say is that men and women are very different. And I want more men to know that there's not so much pressure to find someone right now. And I actually agree with him that maybe you're just not meant to right now. Men can produce offspring at any point in their lives. Now I know that you might have your own ethical concerns over that of, how present can a 95-year-old father be? Fair enough. But if we're thinking just scientifically, biologically, to create offspring, men can do it at any point. Whereas women, I truly believe that a lot of our development is figuring out how to become, a wife, how to find that protector and keep him, and then how to be a good mother and keep them safe. So yeah, it's really interesting to hear. And I guess this is the whole problem with things like feminism, because I imagine a lot of jealousy comes from that. I totally get it. This is like the whole power thing. It's like, wait, you guys can, afford to live freely for 20 years and then decide you want to have kids? Oh, and you're stronger too? Like, that's a lot of what is behind feminism. And I get it. Like, I'm a woman. Of course those emotions are there. But it fails to account for how incredibly lonely that can be. It fails to account for how hard that is. It fails to account for how much blood, sweat, and tears has to go into the making of a man. So, you know, they're very different experiences. And I think that's important for people to understand.
Maybe you should take a step back. Maybe you shouldn't think you need this certain area of your life to be developed, at least right now, in order to feel whole, in order for your life to have some sort of meaning behind it. It's a serious problem with people. They get so attached to the idea of being in love with another person and devoting more of their life to that person that they neglect all other areas of their life until this area of their life is developed. Now, I want to tie this to another scenario that can be seen in the same vein, which is finding your passion or finding your number one purpose in life. This is another instance where people never find that thing. They never find that one thing to dedicate their life to, in the same way that they never find that one person to build a life with. And again, in our culture, this is becoming less taboo, and people are able to explore their options more and really find a job that they wake up every day and think, wow, I'm so blessed to be able to do this and dedicate a large portion of my life to this. But there are some people who they keep trying all these different interests. And I used to be someone who preached the idea of, like, if you haven't found your passion yet, you just haven't done enough things. You haven't explored enough of life, of what life can give you.
Yeah, I used to be like that too, but life isn't like that. Like, genuinely, obviously my situation with YouTube and everything, like, this didn't happen because I tried so much and I decided I'm gonna become a YouTuber. Like, none of that happened. If any of you have been following me and you know my journey, like, I got lucky. Like, I got lucky, and I am so incredibly blessed, and I will never, ever, ever sit here and, you know, say I've worked incredibly hard for this. I've worked incredibly hard to maintain this, of course, without a doubt, but, you know, it found me. And I think it's very easy for people like myself who their passion found them rather than them having to, you know, carve it out and find it for themselves, to say, oh, you know, you've just got to try something and find something you enjoy. Because, well, for me and a lot of others, that's not our experience. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that everyone has their own experience. And, you know, it's the old saying of people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. You have to be very, very careful when offering advice on something that you haven't experienced. Because you don't know. That's why I don't give advice to men. That's why I don't tell men what I think they ought to be doing, who they ought to be, how they ought to be. I give my preference for what I would like to see in a man or in men, but I don't speak with any real authority because I can't have that authority because I don't understand. And I think, especially with the differences between the sexes, we have to be very, very conscious of that. And it's the same in this situation, you know, in instances with work. I was definitely someone who was like that. And I do think that you should still try things, but I'm not going to give the promise that if you try enough things, you'll find the thing you're passionate about. You know, I don't think that's the case. I also think for a lot of people, their passion doesn't come from work. They hate their life at work. They hate what they do. They just do it because it makes them money, and we need money in the modern world. But their passion is elsewhere. They have other passions. And then for others, like, they literally have no passion at all. They just get by. And that's their reality. That doesn't mean that it's less of a reality, like, but that is a very real reality for a lot of people. But I don't think you should just not try anything. I still think you should try things, just without the expectation that you're definitely going to find something. Because I know it's like cringy to say, but it's not always about the destination, it's about the journey. And yeah, you should still try things, especially in your 20s. Obviously, I know a lot of you guys probably laughing at me because, like, Christine, you're 25, like, you don't know anything, just sit down. But, like, you know, in my early 20s, from sort of 18 to when did I do YouTube? 22. Oh my gosh, it's been 3 years. Yeah, like I tried a lot of different jobs. I did a lot of different jobs, and sure, like I definitely didn't find anything that I'm passionate about. I certainly found things that I'm good at and not good at. I'm terrible at sales. I'm a great waitress. I'm a great barmaid. I'm an estate agent, I guess. My old boss is probably just sitting here watching this like, no, she's not. But I'm glad for those experiences because it built me up to be who I am. I'm a terrible window salesperson. I'm not a bad telemarketer. But yeah, you know, I didn't find any pot of gold in there. But the experience itself is the pot of gold.
But a lot of people do, and they never are able to still find that passion. And it wasn't until I came across this one Instagram reel that was just a text with some cool background. And the text said something along the lines of, what if your purpose is to try as many things as you can and to experience all these different flavors of life and never commit yourself to one thing so rigidly so you can change your identity and be more fluid and see what more of this life has to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, again, controversial take. My gosh, this is probably my most controversial video yet. A lot of the people that are telling you to commit to one thing and just do that thing, that comes with the price. That comes with the price of not being able to do everything, you know? And neither one is right. Everything in life comes at a cost. Either you go the mastery route, okay? Now, whether it be a work passion, whether it be another person, having a family, marriage, whatever, but you decide this is the path I'm going to take and you walk it fearlessly, dedicated and committed to it, and you never steer off the path. You will eventually master that path, right? It's like the 10,000 hour rule, 50,000 hour rule. But that comes at a cost of saying no to every other door that opens. And on the other hand, you could dive into the ocean of chaos and take every opportunity that comes your way. But then you never really get to master everything. Or, you know, this is the thing with life, is that life is so insane and you just never know. And, you know, it's not that simple. Or you try everything, you do everything, you become a master at everything, and you like ascend out of this plane of existence and you just become a god. Like, who knows? But I think it's always important to remember that we're all human and we all get lonely. And I think an Instagram reel that I saw recently, or was it YouTube? Yeah, it must have been YouTube. It was like, you know, there are people who are married who want to get divorced, and there are people who are, you know, single who want to be married. Like, there are people with kids who are remembering what it was like to not have kids, and there are people without kids who want nothing but kids. Like, we humans, like, we love suffering. And I know that's a bit of a crude way of saying it, but we're always going to wish we did more. We're always going to wish we did something else. We're always going to wish that we had something that we don't. And it's that same instinct that has kept us alive for thousands, hundreds, millions of years, whatever the hell you want to believe, right? But that drive is human. And you're not alone in that. You're never alone in your experience. Context differs, sure. But as far as the human experience is concerned, you're never really alone. And at least for me, there's some hope in that. I'm sorry if there's not for you. But that's my experience. That there's some hope in knowing that the human experience is not exclusive to you.
And perhaps we can apply that same method of thinking to love and dating. Not in the sense that you go bouncing around from partner to partner, because I would hate to see that for anybody. And staying at a surface level relationship with a bunch of people and having all these situationships is something I am going to critique in my next main channel video. There's got to be a very particular way that you would do this where it would make sense. Because if you are going to be leading people on due to the advice I'm going to give you, you're going to be leading people on, you're not going to be clear with your intentions when you go out to date different people, then I would say you really shouldn't be doing this at all, and it'll only do more harm than good, and will only leave you heartbroken, and will only leave another person heartbroken. No, we need a very particular method for doing this. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I hit the record button, I didn't know what this is going to be, and I'm going to have to figure it out right now. What I'm thinking now is your intention for the person who can't find that one person to fall in love with and be intimate with is to apply the same sort of try a bunch of different things through different activities and clubs with the added pursuit of meeting a lot of people and making these really deep connections with a group of close friends or multiple groups of close friends who all have differing ideas and interests. I think this is how you become a well-rounded individual. First off, I think having friends who have a bunch of different ideas and ideologies and philosophies on life really allows you to stay open-minded and makes you become a better critical thinker, because you don't get trapped in some sort of echo chamber with just one friend group who believes, let's say, you got to wake up at 5 a.m., take cold showers, get in the sauna every day in order to be healthy and to be successful. And the other group that believes it doesn't even fucking matter, and you can wake up at 3 p.m. and still be successful. And these are people who really don't care about making a ton of money, and they're more the creative types. Having that, I believe, is such a beautiful expression of life. Life itself is full of a lot of different perspectives, and people often get caught in their own perspective due to their own upbringing. And like I've explained earlier in this video, that can cause some trouble with relationships because people act or think differently than you, and they might be doing it with good intentions behind it and doing things to the best of their ability, but they're totally ignorant to it. And that could be you within relationship contexts as well, and romantic relationship contexts. And so now I think this is why this is so effective. Exploring more different friend groups, different areas, expanding your horizons with who you are seeing and talking to on a daily basis, not only is going to relieve some of that pressure you might be putting on yourself to find love, but also to help you become a more well-rounded individual, so that if the time comes, so that if someone comes around and you two are falling for each other and it starts to develop, when the time comes where you get triggered by something or she gets triggered by something, you've spent so much time deepening connections with platonic relationships in other areas of your life that you know how to handle this when it comes to romantic relationships. There's a very harsh trend going on in our culture right now, I believe, where we're very unforgiving. We find it very hard to not see human beings as replaceable and dispensable because of the way that social media and these dating apps commodify relationships and people and see them as just physical entities. And I think really deepening more relationships with different types of people in real life is when you start to gain a much needed perspective that makes romantic relationships not as necessary, but also, like I said, gives you the necessary skill set to deal with issues if you are to get into a romantic relationship and find yourself in love.
It's people skills. It's the same reason why I say, you shouldn't expect to find your passion out of trying a bunch of different jobs, but you should just do it because it's people skills. And that is something that is incredible and will benefit you your whole life. I was quite a weird child. I didn't have people skills really when I was a kid. I was very enthusiastic about things as a kid, and then when I went to secondary school, that obviously wasn't welcomed because everyone's trying to be cool in secondary school, whereas I didn't care about being cool. I was just very enthusiastic and passionate about everything, which, you know, obviously now is great because it's, you know, landed me in the position I'm in. Like, I get to be as passionate as I want to about things now, which is great. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, social context and stuff matters, and I suffered for that. You know, I was bullied. Wasn't exactly the coolest kid on the block, like, and you suffer because of that. And it's the same in adulthood. You know, if you don't have the people skills to be able to read the room or read another person, like, you're gonna struggle to make connections on a platonic level, on a, you know, work-based level, and therefore in a personal, intimate level. And we are tribal beings. We need each other. As I said earlier, we need people. So figuring out how to people is a great skill set, and the more you expose yourself to people, the more you're going to develop that. She says, sat in a room by herself to a camera.
Out of nowhere. And I think that's what's going to happen to these types of people who try so hard to find love, and they're putting in so much effort to work on themselves, and they're super confident, and they're like 6'2", they're shredded. I'm talking about it in a guy's scenario who's looking for a girl or another dude, who knows? And they just can't find anyone who's attracted to them or that they really vibe with. Those types of people, I think, will have better luck using the approach that I described here, which goes against a little bit what I said in my video about it's not what everyone gets wrong about love. It's a video for hopeless romantics on my main channel. And I explained in that video how a lot of people say, oh, you know, stop looking for love and you'll find it. And how I thought that was kind of bullshit. But I'm realizing now that's not terrible advice, depending on what you do with that advice for the types of people who are trying really hard to find love, but feel like they'll never find it after 50 rejections, 100 different dates, and still they could find nobody.
I also think there's something to say for the intention. Like, if you say, I don't know, like, this is pure speculation, I could be completely wrong about this, I don't actually know, because it's something that's incredibly hard to do. But I think maybe there's something to do with the intention behind it. Maybe the whole thing is like, you've got to stop looking for love and then you'll find it. But you have to actually stop. Like, it can't be a strategic play of, oh, I'm going to stop looking for love so I can find it. Maybe you actually have to let it go. Like, actually seriously let it go, and seriously let go of the idea of finding someone ever. And maybe then it comes. I don't know. Like I say, like, that is incredibly hard to do. Like, how many people, you know, I'm sure a lot of you, but for me personally, like, I think that's an incredibly hard thing to do. As I've mentioned before, I'm an incredibly hopeful person about the world, about the future. So it would be incredibly hard for me to let go completely of something that I would want, you know?
That they really could see themselves building a life with, or the other person just didn't want to continue the relationship with them. That approach might be worth a try. And the final thing I'll say, and this will put your mind at ease once you get to this state permanently, you have to be okay with potentially never finding a partner.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, you have to actually be okay with it, not just saying you're okay with it because you're secretly hoping that once you declare you're okay with it, it's going to turn up, which is a lot easier said than done. I'm not ignorant to that.
How would life look like being the person that is okay with that? What would make life worth continuing if you were to never find the one, that person? You have to answer these questions, or else every day is going to feel like agony until you try to force yourself into some relationship. You have to be okay with the potential that you may never find that one person. And that's not to be some doomer. It's to get you to focus on other areas of your life.
It's to get you to focus on you and not someone else.
At least for right now, and to develop the self-confidence and endurance to be able to endure a life in which you find deep, deep relationships, but only within platonic settings. And you got to be okay with that. And there is a way to do that right now. It's going to take a lot of work on your end. And through exploring different platonic relationships with vastly different people and expanding your sense of self by exposing yourself to people with different lifestyles, you become a more well-rounded person. And also, you get that sense of true connection that you're probably searching for within a romantic partner. I'm in the process of writing a novel for 20-something-year-olds who are living through a post-pandemic world and how to navigate through that and grow in the context of kind of a fantasy-like setting where the main character has his mind split in two after a very tragic event. If you want to follow my book chronicles as I continue writing that, I talk about it every single week on my newsletter. If you want to sign up for that newsletter, the link is in the description. And if you want to platonically hang with the homies every weekend in my coaching calls, in my self-mastery school, the link to the self-mastery school is in the description as well. We have some really awesome friendships in there if you're trying to expand your horizons that way. And that's it.
Wow. I really liked him. I really liked his vibe that he had going. Cole Hastings is his name. Definitely go check him out, guys. Go give the video some support. Thank you so much, Keris, for sending this over. I really, really enjoyed this. And I think he's sending a really important message. You have got to be okay with not finding someone because you've only got yourself to live with. And even if you do find someone, nothing ever lasts. I hate to get bleak here, but one of you is going to pass away at some point, and then you're left with you and the memories. So you need to be okay with not finding someone, whether it be you never find someone or whether it be you find someone and then lose them. Because ultimately, we're all born and die alone. We just got to enjoy the connections that we make along the way. And that doesn't always have to be a romantic connection. So yeah, I liked that. I liked that a lot. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, if you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up on your way out. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with all of my content. And if you've got a video suggestion for me, if you want to also platonically hang, you can join my WhatsApp community where you'll find myself, Keros, and a bunch of other cool people where we talk about all different things, and you can suggest your videos to me just like this one and I will do it for you. Yeah, that's it. I hope to see you very soon, guys, in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.